ফ্লোরিডা বাংলা টেলিভিশন, প্রবাসে আপনার পাশে।
Assalamualaikum from Florida, Bangladesh television from Florida. আমার নাম হলো ইমন করিম। থ্যাংক ইউ যে আপনারা আজকে জয়েন করতে পারতেছেন আমাদেরকে। আমাদের আজকে একটা খুব বড় ইম্পর্টেন্ট একটা সাবজেক্ট আছে, হলে গিয়ে আমাদের পলিটিক্স হচ্ছে ইউএসএ তে এই বছর 2020 is very important to understand the politics যেটা হচ্ছে। আর আমাদের অনেক বড় রেস আছে, প্রেসিডেন্ট রেস, বাট মোস্ট ইম্পর্টেন্টলি হলে গিয়ে আমাদের লোকাল রেস গুলো। আমাদের লোকাল রেসে আমাদের বাংলাদেশি কমিউনিটি একটু ইনভলভ হওয়া উচিত, কেন ওরা হলে গিয়ে আমাদেরকে ইমিডিয়েটলি আমরা এফেক্টটা পাবো যখন আমরা একটা লোকাল রেসের ভোটিং দেওয়া হবে। সো আমাদের সাথে আজকে আছে দুইটা ক্যান্ডিডেট যারা রান করতেছে ফর দ্য শেরিফ ডিপার্টমেন্ট অফ ব্রাওয়ার্ড কাউন্টি, এন্ড ওই শেরিফ ডিপার্টমেন্ট ইজ ইন চার্জ অফ অল দ্য পুলিশ ডিপার্টমেন্ট ইন ব্রাওয়ার্ড কাউন্টি। সো এখন আমরা সবার সাথে একটু ইন্ট্রোডিউস করাই হয়। আমাদের প্রথম আছে non-party affiliate Mr. Chuck Whatley, that's running for the sheriff department. We have our Democrat candidate Santiago Vazquez, that's running for the Broward County Sheriff Department, and we have Mr. Father George, that is a community leader for the Orthodox churches here in South Florida. So thank you guys for joining us. We are being shown live.
For having us.
Thank you. We're being shown live. I appreciate that you guys are doing this late at night. We're being shown live to all the Bangladeshi communities here in America, South Florida, and obviously Bangladesh. So the whole situation that I want to discuss, first I'm going to let you guys introduce yourself, but we're trying to communicate with the Bangladeshi community to let them know how important it is to vote for the local candidates. August 18th is our primary here in South Florida, and it's very important that all of the Bangladeshi community gets involved to pick their right candidate. So we wanted to give them who are their options that Florida Bangladesh TV has chosen. So Mr. Chuck Whatley, would you please introduce yourself? And why are you running for sheriff?
Well, it's a pleasure to be here, and I thank all the viewers for watching, and thank you, Father, for being here, and Imon. My name is Chuck Whatley, and I am running for Broward County Sheriff here in Broward County, Florida. I am running as a non-party affiliate, which means I do not belong to a Democratic Party or the Republican Party. It's in my heart, my belief, to serve all the people of Broward County, regardless of political affiliation. You treat all people with utmost respect and courtesy, no matter what their political affiliation is. I have 28 years law enforcement experience. Prior to that, I served in the United States Marine Corps 0311 Infantry. I'm also trained in anti-terrorism, and my background, my strong background is I'm an expert in all areas of tactical training involving law enforcement defensive tactics. I'm also a recipient of the prestigious Gold Cross Award for bravery, which is the second highest award that you can receive in law enforcement. I also, which many people do not know, when we had the mass shooting here at the Fort Lauderdale International Airport, I was working there and I was on scene within a minute. The reason why I'm running for sheriff is after being on that scene, I saw the command staff of Scott Israel. They were at a total loss. They stood around. They didn't know what to do. I even had to tell them, you need to shut down the airport. And they refused to shut it down. And of course, everybody knows what happens after that. There was total chaos at the airport. So even though that event occurred, they would come into roll calls and tell the personnel, now this is under Scott Israel's command, regardless of what had occurred with the mass shooting, that the primary responsibility for law enforcement at the airport is customer service to the airlines and customer service to what we call BCAD, the Broward County Aviation Department. After not seeing any changes for 9 months, I decided after 28 years of service to retire. And that was September 2017. Now, in my mind at the time, I had no plans of running for sheriff. I was going to retire, relax, move out of state. But God's work is God's work. He keeps you in a position for a reason. Immediately after I retired, my dad had cancer, and I was able to spend a lot of time with him before his passing. So I was very thankful for that. But what occurred a week after I buried my father was the mass shooting at Stoneman Douglas High School, which is only a mile and a half from my house. So once that happened, I decided to get into the fight to have Scott Israel removed as sheriff of Broward County. And I fought very hard for that. Once I knew he was going to be removed, I was feeling relieved. But then I found out the truth about Sheriff Tony. And of course, with Sheriff Tony, all the things came out. At first, he claimed to be a veteran of the United States Marine Corps OCS Officer Candidate School. And once I found out that was a lie, I started checking his background further. And it came to be revealed that he had falsified documents when he applied to work at his original police department, Coral Springs Police Department, at which time he would have never been hired. And then he continued the falsified documents and lied to the governor of Florida, or concealed from the governor of Florida, about his checkered past. He had been known to be a member of a gang in his hometown.
Sheriff Tony is our
sheriff.
Chuck?
Yes,
and he was appointed by our governor,
Governor DeSantis.
Office.
Right, and and when he was vetted, it was hidden from Governor DeSantis that Tony had a criminal background. He had been arrested multiple times.
We're going to get to that subject in a minute. Chuck, I would like to give opportunity for the Santiago Vazquez to introduce himself. But there's a lot to talk about, and what you're bringing up is very fascinating. These are the truth that people must know in the community on who is who, instead of just seeing a name and saying, "Oh, okay, he's in the office, and this is what I have to do." But what I need to do, I'm going to introduce Mr. Santiago Vazquez. He's running for the Democratic seat, August 18th primary. Mr. Vazquez, same question to you. We would like to ask you, why are you running, and what is your experience, and how do you feel you would be the sheriff, and why you would be better than your predecessors?
Well, thank you very much. I greatly appreciate it, and thank you very much to Florida Bangladesh TV for having us here today. My name is Santiago Vazquez, and I'm a Democratic candidate for Broward County Sheriff. I have 23 years as a sergeant with the Broward County Sheriff's Office. I'm also a United States Army veteran. I served in Operation Desert Shield and Desert Storm, and in Bosnia-Herzegovina and in Guantanamo Bay, Cuba. I joined in 1994 with the City of Oakland Park Police Department, where we later merged with the Broward Sheriff's Office in August of 2000. I have been a deputy, a detective, a field training officer, a community relations officer, a motor sergeant, a sergeant, and as with Chuck, I am proud to have served my God, my country, and my family for the last 30 years. I'm also a traveling man, and I believe in better, and I believe in Broward. But as far as that, we, the members of this community, deserve a sheriff that brings everyone together and leads with integrity, accountability, and the abilities to lead, hearing the diverse voices of Broward County. The office of the sheriff cannot be denigrated by scandals, questions of integrity, negative association, and he or she must lead by example. I have served honorably over 23 years the community as a sergeant of the Broward Sheriff's Office, on active duty in the United States Army, and combat experience, and I am honored to have been awarded the Gold Cross for my actions, my life in jeopardy, and protecting the lives of the citizens as well, and my fellow deputies and my citizens. I also have a certificate of leadership from an accredited university, and I am ready to lead the Broward County Sheriff's Office into a positive change for the department from day one. I, along with the department, will be accountable to every citizen of the county. I will implement changes, including independent oversight, the CART program, provide training for deputies, better allocations for the regular mental health patients for our deputies, and improve the image of law enforcement in our country. I, unlike the others in this election, am not owned by special interest groups or big donors affected by questionable integrity or actions that would disqualify citizens for most types of employment, much less the sheriff of Broward County. Questions of leadership, ability, and even associate with such individuals that as three of my opponents, and I'm compelled to out these lapses of integrity because as your sheriff, I must not only speak against injustice, but I must also act out against it. And I am and will be accountable to you, the citizens of which I am proud to serve. County. Thank you.
Much, Mr. Santiago. Thank you so much, Mr. Santiago. And I have a distinguished guest here. Father George is a great friend of mine. He is the father. I'm going to actually let you introduce yourself, but I come to him for advice on many issues. And Father George, if you will let the community know who you are and why are you here? What is bringing you to be involved in these local races? What changes? What are you looking for?
Well, good evening, everyone, and thank you for allowing me to participate in this. And I would like to thank the Bangladeshi television station and the community for being part of Broward County, part of the United States. I'm the son of immigrants that came from Greece, and I'm very appreciative of all immigrants. It's you, the Bangladeshi community, that is bringing a beautiful culture, wonderful people, hardworking, dedicated, that really exemplify the American dream. You're a beautiful community that's very resourceful, very united, and you should be united in a common goal to make America better each day. This is now your home. And so we share this together as Jews, Christians, and Muslims and other faiths, and we share it together as a common human goal to make our communities better. I'm an Orthodox clergyman, ordained, and this is my 17th year of ordination. I've been heavily involved in nonprofit organizations that help battered women and children. I was on the board of directors of the Maryland Food Bank, amongst other charities. I've also served as a legal trial expert, was an assistant to the chief judge of the circuit court. So I've served in the judicial system, in law enforcement as well. I was involved with the World Police Games, did many different things with the role, an investigator under the Maryland State Police. So I served in different capacities outside my role as a clergyman, in which I serve, dedicated to the community and to the Orthodox Church, the Eastern Orthodox Church. But I believe that we need to come up as one voice. Whether we're Jew, Muslim, or Christian, we have to speak up because we all are against corruption. We all are against injustice. We are united in that common goal under our one Creator to search for truth, to stand by truth, and to fight all forms of corruption and evil. And unfortunately, in politics right now, there's a lot of evil and a lot of men with the wrong intentions that have goals to divide us, not to unite us, that have other ulterior motives. And it's been shown. And they need to lead by example. So we need to speak up. The Bangladeshi community now needs to speak up as one voice against these injustices. You're an honorable, hardworking community, and you work hard. And because of that hard work and what you exemplify as a community, as the Bangladeshi community, you need to come together and make your voice known that the Bangladeshi community is strong, that you will speak out against justice, that you will speak out against corruption. So you need to vote, and you need to support candidates by volunteering, by contributing financially, by contributing with your prayers and your emotional and moral support to good, honorable, just candidates who will go out there
Thank you.
and fight for you and stand up for you,
Thank
the
you.
Bangladesh community, and other
That's right.
minorities. So thank you.
Yes. Thank you so much, Father George. We're going to go ahead and get this started, and I want you guys to feel very comfortable here. This is not, poking you or anything like that. We want to educate our community. Our community are very hardworking people, educated people, doctors, lawyers, businessmen. Everybody's involved. We work as a group. When we have events, we see a lot of people and everybody becomes a family. So Bangladeshi community is more like a family than it's just, individual people from the same country. If I was to get hurt or something happened to me, then the community always works together. So it's my responsibility as one of the leaders in Bangladesh community to educate us, the new generation and the future generation, on why voting, which is the right that we fight for to become a U.S. citizen, to have, it's so important to vote on the local election and not just voting for the president. So one of the confusions that a lot of Bangladeshi people might have is, what is a sheriff? And what's the difference between a sheriff and a police chief? Who's higher? Who's lower? Are you guys the same? So whether Chuck, George, anybody, let's just answer really quickly and tell the Bangladeshi community, what is a sheriff?
Well, thank you. Really quick, the difference between our law enforcement is a chief is an individual that's in charge of a municipality. It's like a small city or a city. So we have various here in Broward County. Some cities contract the Broward Sheriff's Office, and some decide to have the chief of police for their city. So the chief of police is a person that's in charge of their law enforcement for that only. The sheriff is in charge of the county. The sheriff also is in charge of court services and lab services, the jail, the airport, the seaport, and various other cities here in Broward County. So his area of law enforcement is larger. He also is in charge of the corrections facility and the communication. So when you dial 911, he's the person that's responsible for that. And that's the issues that
Whether you
we've
live
had
in a
here.
city that has a chief, whether you live
I'm
in a
sorry.
city that has a chief or not, the 911 system is a responsibility. So basically, a sheriff is in charge of the whole county, of all the other chiefs,
Yes,
and making sure they're
correct.
working properly with the law and the citizens. Am I correct?
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay. So you guys have brought up a lot of experience, a lot of reasons why you guys are running, and one of the questions that I would like to ask is, the Bangladeshi community is very involved in small businesses, and when we had all these protests happening recently, um, what is your thoughts, and how would you think that if something happened in your county, how would you be prepared? And is the current sheriff even prepared to handle something like this
Well,
in the
yeah.
system
Before
now?
you do that, I didn't get a chance to speak on the difference between the chief and the sheriff.
Sure.
One of the most important things about the sheriff is that the sheriff is also under the Constitution of Florida, and he has a constitutional authority to appoint persons to carry out the duties of the sheriff in his or her name, where the chief is hired by the mayor of the city. And he made a good point that the sheriff has jurisdiction throughout the county, incorporated cities and non-incorporated cities. The sheriff is also considered, instead of just being an employee for the city, he is also actually an executive officer of the courts. and so that gives you more power. And the sheriff is elected to the position where the chief is hired by the mayor himself. So that's some of the biggest differences of all because of the
So
Constitution.
the people that live in the area that has a chief, Mr. Whatley, doesn't really have the voting rights to say if that person is qualified for that job or not. They don't have
the
a
chief
choice.
is hired
The
by the
residents,
city.
right?
Yeah. The chief
And the
is
sheriff
hired by
is
the
elected.
city, and the sheriff is elected by the people. And of course, with both of them, is to protect life, property, and others from civil disobedience. So you got your three main factors of the function. But the sheriff is also supposed to provide, like Vazquez stated, court security, county jails, and the managing of those things as well. But also for the service of warrants, the sheriff handles, not the municipality or the chief. And civil processes are handled by the sheriff's office as well, where in hand, that's not done by a chief of police for a particular city.
So, from what I heard in the news, I believe there's been some lack of leadership with the sheriff in Broward County currently. One of the hot news is that I heard is that there was a woman that was pregnant in jail, and she didn't get the adequate facilities. So, since the sheriff is in charge of the jail, what really happened there? Why was she not able to go to the hospital? And as a sheriff, what should change so this doesn't happen again? Could you elaborate on that,
Well,
Mr.
I think
Santiago Vazquez?
Yes. Well,
I'll
thank
let
you
you
very much.
say it next,
The
Chuck.
issue is this. No. Is it for me or for Chuck? I'm sorry.
Yeah, Chuck just said something. You could say now, and then I'll let Chuck come in, and George, you could say. Everybody could say whatever they want. There's no, I say this. Just whatever whoever wants to answer it and educate the community.
Okay. Well, first of all, there are policies and procedures in place for our jails, and unfortunately, this sheriff has not provided proper custody and control over our prisoners. And what's happening that the poor leadership starts from top, and they have a colonel that is not provide proper leadership to its correction facility. And this is where the problem lies because there is no accountability and no transparency in our jail. What happened at the jail where the young lady had a child at the facility was uncalled for. It should happen. There are many procedures and policies that are in place that these should have followed, and they failed to do that. That's a responsibility of the sheriff to make sure that the leadership is in control of the jails are good leaders that can command and follow up and make sure that they can make decisions and proper at that. This is a lack of leadership with our medical facility who is hired in there. The sheriff immediately, the interim sheriff right now just gave them a warning. They're still working there, which is a shame, and they should not be there, the medical facility. This is a contract done by the Broward County Sheriff's to this medical facility of the patients, and they failed. So I would have immediately terminated their contract and rehired a new company for that position.
Yeah, he made some valid points, especially with the medical staff. The sheriff's office, I think it was, what was it, like $58 million spent on medical staff for the jail facility alone. And we're hearing all these constant complaints, not just from the person giving birth in the jail facility, but from the public defender of prisoners not being treated appropriately based on medical needs. The jail has been inspected by outside sources in the past, and recommendations were made, but the lack of leadership and the stubbornness of like Sheriff Tony now and the former Sheriff Scott Israel haven't made those changes. When there was a prisoner escape from the jail, instead of figuring out how it happened and how to capture the prisoner, Sheriff Scott Israel went right to the media and said, "We need more money." That was his response, not looking for an answer so
More
it
money
doesn't
being
happen again.
taxpayers' money. It's all
Yes,
taxpayers' money.
yes,
What is the
yes.
budget
And
for the sheriff in Broward County? What is the budget for the sheriff's office in Broward County?
about 950 million.
That's a lot of taxpayers' money. So whether
Yes, but you
so
got to remember it's a large
to
organization.
so the Bangladeshi community, আপনারা যারা Broward County-তে থাকেন, আপনাদের tax is actually going towards the sheriff department. So এটা অনেক ইম্পর্টেন্ট যে আমরা রাইট ক্যান্ডিডেট যেন ইউজ করি। কেন এভাবে যদি ট্যাক্স দেওয়া হয় সামনের বছরে আটটুক বাড়বে, আটটুক বাড়বে, 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 আর আপনাদের পকেট থেকে এটা যাচ্ছে। সো এই পজিশন গুলা ইজ ভেরি ইম্পর্টেন্ট যে আমরা বুঝি আর কেন আমাদের রাইট ক্যান্ডিডেটটা হায়ার করা উচিত। বিকজ দিজ আর অল ট্যাক্স পেয়ার মানিজ and it's not budgeted right. So there should be no reason to spend more taxpayer money to fix something that they could have fixed. Would you guys agree with that?
Yeah,
Yes.
I don't
Well,
see a
Imon,
reason
I
to
have to-
increase the budget.
Sure.
Well,
Father
Imon, I
George,
have
you
to
have
agree
something to
with
say.
you. Yeah, I have to agree with you in the sense. First of all, let's go back to this from the beginning so everyone understands what's going on, and that way they can understand why we're at with these problems. First of all, you had a previous sheriff that had lack of leadership and was really patronizing certain groups and placating to the donors. And so all he cared about was them so he could keep his position.
Who was the previous sheriff? Who was the
Israel.
previous sheriff?
Scott
Okay,
Israel.
please mention the people's names so then our community understands who you're talking
Yeah,
about.
Scott Israel was a man who, yes, he may have started out honorably in law enforcement, but really saw the opportunity and took it to become a politician instead, and forgot why or what made him become law enforcement. And so when he used his political connection to become sheriff, that's all he cared about. And so the sheriff's department, the deputies were not being supported by proper leadership under him, and now under the current sheriff, who was not properly vetted, who has a very questionable background, who has lied and lied many times about multiple things, is not believed by his own deputies, much less the community. These are two individuals, Scott Israel and Gregory Tony, who shouldn't even be running for the race. They don't have the leadership, which is shown by the incident at the prison, by other incidences that have occurred, and by under Scott Israel, the mass shootings and other things that the voters need to be aware of. These two men are a danger to the community, and they have ulterior motives. They answer to big money groups. They're not answering to the voters and the taxpayers' dollars. And so
Special
that
interest.
alone,
That's what they're doing.
yeah,
Special
interest.
interest. They,
And that
pretty much
alone is a
corruption.
problem.
Yeah, let
Would
me
you call
touch
it corruption?
on Father George, because he talked about how he works with nonprofits dealing with battered women and children and so forth, right? Correct, Father? That you've worked with nonprofits and so forth. But even the candidates, some of them that are running right now, and this is why I decided to run, because they talk about integrity, transparency, and so forth. When I found out about these guys, that's why I decided to run. You got Alvin Pollock, who at every debate has talked about how he's endorsed because of his integrity and his honesty, yet every debate he has lied about how he's climbed his way through the ranks. He got colonel because he helped out in the campaign.
Yeah.
And dealing with a domestic violence incident, a football player beats his wife, sends her to the hospital, And Alvin Pollock's a commander or a colonel. I don't know which one it is, but he's upper chain of command. And to spare the football player any embarrassment from the media, he responds with a county vehicle, picks up the football player from the back of the jail, and takes him to wherever he wants to go. So my big question to Alvin Pollock at the time was, well, while you were taking care of him, who was taking care of his battered wife? And these are the type of people. They're self-serving. Alvin Pollock did it as a favor, knowing that probably maybe he gets season tickets or whatever. But this is the problem, and it's been throughout the history of VSO. So these things have to be stomped out. That's why I'm running. You got Alvin Pollock. That he's known. He had the nickname of Hapless Alvin because he couldn't get anything done. Talking about climbing through the ranks. Now, then show me when he was a lieutenant. Show me when he was a captain or a major. Or show me when he even passed the lieutenant's test. No, he's given colonel because he helped on the campaign. Yeah, so those things need to be stopped.
But they're wanting the vote from the people, but they're not telling all the previous
they don't tell the
corruptions
truth.
or side deals that they have done.
And everybody, they'll always speak about. Yeah, they'll speak about holding their deputies accountable, but not themselves. Go ahead, Santiago.
There's no accountability. There's no accountability, no integrity with these other men running. You have two other candidates here that aren't getting the media attention because the other candidates are being supported by big money, by the other corruption that's in the county, and so they're not getting any attention. But these issues of integrity, of accountability, need to be exposed. It has nothing to do with Republican or Democrat. It has nothing to do with religious background. It has to do with what is right and proper for the community. The voters need to speak up. The Bangladeshi community needs to speak up and say no more. And that our voice as a Bangladeshi community is important. And that we're going to show you that we're going to put the right person in power who's going to have accountability, transparency, and look out for everybody, no matter what your race is, color, and properly balance the budget of the sheriff's department, looking out for the prison aspect, the fire department aspect, looking out for all the aspects involved in that department, and not just worried about catering to a small group of special interest groups or a small group of big donors who are searching for contracts or any benefit they can get out of the sheriff's office.
Well, I appreciate everything that you guys are saying. Mr. Vazquez, if you want to add something to this, you're more than welcome to. But I would like to go to a different aspect.
Yes, that's fine. Go ahead. Yes, I just want to say something really quick that, have other candidates here at the Broward County office that are running for the men and women that are wearing the uniform, that are working for the community. That is why I am running. I am running for our community to make sure that our community has a voice. That's why it's when I go out there and I meet out with the Russian community and the Bangladesh community and the Spanish community and the Black community and the white community. We're all communities. We're all together. We should all have one voice because we have one vote. And that's what's important. Because if we don't vote, then we have that person that we didn't want. And then we're complaining and we're rioting and we're protesting because we didn't go out there and vote. There are countries that have women that cannot vote. And yet here in the United States, we have women that can vote. Pleading to all members of the community to please go out there and vote. Make sure that when you vote, you put the candidate there that's best going to be for your community. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So our next subject is going to be the Bangladeshi community. You guys may or may not know that they own a lot of small businesses where there's a lot of interactions with the sheriff's department. And I want to say thank you to Mr. Vazquez for having chai with me in Bangladesh. But we're going to come back to that in a minute after we take this short break from our sponsors. Thank you. থ্যাংক ইউ আমরা এখন একটা শর্ট ব্রেক নিচ্ছি আপনারা থ্যাংক ইউ যে আপনারা সবাই আসছেন আমাদের আরো অনেক কথা আছে আর ভেরি ইম্পর্টেন্ট কথা আছে আমরা এখন কথা বলবো ওরা কিভাবে আমাদেরকে হেল্প করতে পারবে যারা আমরা ব্যবসাতে আছি এখানে কনভিনিয়েন্স স্টোর গ্যাস স্টেশন সো এই ব্রেকের পরে ইনশাল্লাহ আমরা ওইটা ফাইন্ড আউট করব থ্যাংক ইউ Okay, thank you for watching. I want to get back to the candidates. I want to express and find out exactly how we are going to be protected when you are the sheriff. For the Bangladeshi community, we are very religious. We follow different religion. We have Christianity, we have Hinduism, and we also have Islam, Muslim. And all of our house of God needs to be protected. All of our businesses needs to be protected. How can we create the bridge? How can we create the bridge between the sheriff department and the local businesses? So if there is a petty crime that could turn into a serious crime, we had a fellow Bangladeshis and several Bangladeshis that have died in their businesses from gunshots and robbery because they were too afraid to talk to the sheriff to say, hey, this person is giving me a hard time. Because normally the sheriff department just comes right in, acts like they're the big cowboys, and causes more of an issue between the clerk and the person that's causing the problem. So then when the sheriff department goes away, then that person is now getting more violent. So I wanted to thank Mr. Santiago. Are we there? Mr. Santiago. Mr. Santiago, 3 years ago, told me I need support from the community. And I told him, that you don't know anything about us.
We got a lot of
How do I
feedback.
get to know you? Right?
Iman, there's a lot of feedback back there. Yeah.
Can you hear me now? Okay.
Yes.
I was mentioning, Mr. Santiago, 3 years ago you came to me and you said, I need the support for the from the Bangladeshi community when you're running to rerun for the sheriff department. And I said, you don't know the Bangladeshi community. And you said, how do I get to know the Bangladeshi community? And as a joke, I said,
Yes.
come with me to Bangladesh. And you really bought your own ticket and went to Bangladesh. Would you explain how that has changed your views on who we are and why you feel so connected to the Bangladeshi community? And I know Chuck is connected to the Bangladeshi community too. So if you guys want to say something about that, but the main thing that I want to get to is our local businesses and our house of God. I'm not sure if you heard earlier the lack of trust between the deputies and the clerk that works at the gas station or the convenience store. The lack over there between the trust and which causes more problems. But Santiago, tell us how the Bangladeshi community has welcomed you and changed you.
Well, thank you very much. For the past 6 years, I've been together with the Bangladesh community. I've traveled to many stores here, convenience stores, and local stores here in Broward County. I've I also extended it to West Palm Beach areas as well. I want to say that I have traveled to Bangladesh, and I've been to Dhaka and Chittagong, and enjoyed it because I've seen the progression from Bangladesh and the Bangladesh family here. My Bangladesh family, Mohammed bin Zambin and Mohammed Karim, who are freedom fighters, and they've opened their doors and opened their arms to me, and I want to say thank you very much. And we're going to continue that. Our issues that we have here in Broward County is that our leaders don't really take care of our Bangladesh community. They fail to come out and talk to them. Our convenience stores, our local businesses, and it's just not convenience stores, but local businesses. We have to remember that we have doctors and lawyers and people that were very legal and educated in Bangladesh to come here to United States to start over. It's very difficult. So we don't have police officers from Bangladesh. What I will be doing is I'm going to be hiring more people from the Bangladesh community to support the people here in Broward County. I want to make sure that they have the best temperament, the integrity and the personal traits, the compassion for our Bangladesh community. And it's not only our Bangladesh community, but our Indian community as well. And we have to make sure that we put law enforcement in our mosque, in our churches, in our temples, so that this way we can stop the hate that's going on in there. And we can worship in our places of worship in peace and not worry about someone coming through that door as you see going on in the United States. We make sure that we as police, we as the law enforcement of Broward County protect all members of our community. And that's important. And that's what I'm bringing. Technology to our stores so that so that the sheriff's office can respond faster. We're going to have community relation officers to go to these stores to prevent people from hanging out or just loitering and prowling in there and not being there when they don't want to be there, to reduce our crimes. You get more intelligence by talking to a convenience store owner and members around the area than you would from any other location. Better tips because they know what's going on in their own neighborhood. And that's the technology that we need. That's the information that we need. Bringing more positive information to our department and working together as one.
Thank you so much, Mr. Vazquez. So, Whatley, same question as I related to what Mr. Vazquez said earlier. The Bangladeshi community is not so friendly with the sheriff's office because the sheriff's office has never been friendly with us. Not that we're not intimidated by them, it's just the lack of communication. You know, if
That's
there's
what I was
something
going to
going
tell
on,
you.
do I go say it to the deputy? Because then the deputy could instead, it's like when you're fighting with your brothers and sisters and you whisper to your mom, hey, she did this, but don't tell the sister that I told you. But the mom just goes and starts selling you out, telling the sister right in front of you. That's what the sheriff's department is doing. So then, if we do that, if we continue to do that and not understand what the business owner is trying to say for the problems that he's having around his area, how can we decrease the crime? How can we stop the shootings? Right. So, what would you
Right.
do?
Well, first of all, it all comes down to the leadership of the Broward Sheriff's Office, which for the past 30 years and continuing today is a complete failure. I mean, the deputies could be a reflection of who the sheriff is. When you got sheriffs that lie, that are self-serving, doesn't care about the community, only filling their own pockets, well, that's what's going to happen to the basic person that's working road patrol. He's not going to want to sit there and take time to get to know the shop owner and so forth, knowing that his leader is fully corrupt, that he's working for. It affects the morale of the deputies themselves. And it's like in any job function. If you have a problem with overall morale due to failed leadership, that causes a lack of communication with people in your district. So the first thing you have to do for you people, when I talk about that, I'm talking about all the citizens of Broward County, is vote somebody that is known for being trustful, honest, and sincere, and they're doing it out of their heart to protect and serve the people of Broward County. Not because they want to make a buck, not because they want the political power, but because that person decided, hey, you know what? I've had enough. It's time. If nobody's going to do it, then I'll fix it. And so that's what the people have to decide in Broward County. As far as technology, Santiago hit it right on the mark. You got to have better technology. They can have I know that they wanted to work on a camera system, and they still haven't done it after all this time, where in the Crime Information Center, they have live feeds into all the stores, which gives a quicker response time. You can set up the alarm systems instead of going to the alarm company. It goes directly to the district communications. So there's a lot of things you can do. The patrol officer themselves, or patrol deputy, we have to work with them on how to spot trouble, better patrol techniques overall, and better communication. It's more than just walking in to make a purchase and say, hey, how's it going? The guy says, fine, and you walk out. So you have to engage in a conversation, and some of these are the things that we have to teach them. Right. So, the number one problem is communication. Right.
Thank you,
So the number
Mr.
one
Whatley,
problem is
but
communication and trust.
I just wanted to ask you one more question. Do you think it is a good idea, like what Mr. Vazquez was saying, that we should have deputies from every culture within our community? Because English is not our first language, and it's hard to communicate sometimes. What I want to say and what I'm saying, two different things. Would you, as a sheriff, be doing the same thing as getting more diverse deputies out there to handle our communities, whether you're Bangladeshi, Pakistani, Indian, Haitian, it doesn't matter. Someone that they could talk to freely instead of being intimidated that I cannot talk to this person and not have a conversation with this person.
Well, absolutely. It is very important that the sheriff's office is a reflection of the community. So you can't have too much of one thing. It's based on percentages and so forth. But even under the Civil Rights Act of 1964 and the amendments under 1968, they're supposed to reflect the community, or it can be deemed as prejudice. So it is important, and if you don't have a reflection of the community in your department, that affects the overall efficiency of the office. So it is very important.
So the 23 years plus years that both Mr. Vazquez and you have served with the BSO as an officer, as a sergeant, whatever ranks you guys were in, was there a single Bangladeshi deputy on your force?
No, actually,
Indian.
I was actually I was the first Puerto Rican officer for the city of Oakland Park, and
Wow.
I was yes. So, and that was in 1994. Right now, currently at the Broward Sheriff's Office, we only have 3 people that are Bangladesh for a community that is 1.9 million people. This is where I say that we need to hire more Bangladesh people, more people from Pakistan, more people from India, more people that best result in our community. We have a lot of Hispanics, a lot of Latinos here in South Florida, but yet our officers do not match our community. What I say by that is we don't have the leadership in that. What I want to be able to do is make sure that our leadership is also part of our community. Make sure that our community leaders, the people that are guiding the police, the people that represent the police, the people that are representing our organizations and non-party affiliates. I want them to be part of that community that speaks the language that they need. I have many friends out there that don't speak English, and yet if God forbid something happens and they need a police officer, they're calling me to translate, and or we need to go through the a language line to make sure that they can get services. We need to make sure that we have resources for our community as well. So when I say that the police should be there for the community, it needs to have resources, and those resources are hiring police officers that speak your language.
Well, that's great. I'm not sure if Father George is still with us or not, but those type of events to hire more police to do more training is going to come through within the budget. So, is there an excess use of our taxpayers' money on programs that the current sheriff Gregory Tony has failed to change, or the previous sheriff Scott Israel has failed to change, that you think would benefit the community, that by taking certain things out to allow the growth for technology, allow the growth for police training, allow the growth for diversified deputies to be hired?
Well, we need to allocate some money, some funds that are coming into the police department. And yes, there is a lot of sources that are being spent, and the money is so ludicrous on that you have to understand that the sheriff's office spends $20 million on contracts, just one contract, and that one contract, it could be split up to our contracts to help our local businesses here in Broward County to create jobs. And right now, what they're doing is the money that is in there, we can reallocate some positions so that we can hire mental health professionals. Police officers are expected to do a lot for their jobs. And this is one of the issues that we have, because it's lack of training, lack of responsibility, and lack of technology. What they're doing is spending more money on things that police officers don't need, what the community doesn't need. And this is something that I will stop. The reallocation needs to go to positions, and it needs to go into resources that our community needs.
Perfect, perfect. So I'm going to ask the last question to Mr. Whatley, and you could also say something too, Mr. Vazquez, before we end this session. And I really want to thank you guys for taking the opportunity to educate our community on what the sheriff's office is about, who you guys are, and how you guys are trying to make a difference that I don't hear from the current candidates that are running for sheriff. I haven't heard it from the current sheriff, Tony. I haven't never heard it from Israel. I'm not hearing nothing from Pollock or Willie Jones on how they're going to help our community, because they're so focused on other communities. But the Bangladeshi community has a voice, and it's up to you
That's
guys.
right.
I'm telling you, Bangladeshi community, it's up to you guys. If you want to have a voice, the only way you could do it is to vote. And you have to vote on August 18th. So the last question, which is dear to my heart, I have children in school. And what happened at MSD, Marjorie Stoneman Douglas, was totally unacceptable and has put a fear in all parents. Is my kid safe at school? So now, with COVID-19, we're not safe to send them there because they might catch the COVID-19, and there might be a mass shooting. There's talks in the mainstream media like we're not having any school shooting. Like it's a good thing that like they're surprised. Well, it's a good thing that it should not happen. So how do you think the previous sheriff Scott Israel failed to protect them as these children, 17 high school students that have died? And what should what should the sheriff's office do for training of their deputies, for their mental health, and so forth, like. And if you would, after that, we would like to thank FBTV for this opportunity and have your closing statement. So, Mr. Whatley, why don't you start?
Okay, well, everybody knows that Sheriff Scott Israel failed miserably. The reason why, number one, lack of training involving tactical training. The example for the deputy on the scene, I think the last time that he had any mass shooting training was probably 3 years prior to what happened at MSD. And the way that he ran what he called his juvenile citation program or promise program. There was no accountability for juveniles under the juvenile justice system for violations of law. For example, prior to MSD, students all the time would make threats to do something at a school, and you wouldn't see them arrested or anything like that because Scott Israel didn't want to show on the books that the crime was up. Instead, he wanted to show that it was going down by taking non-action. It was only after MSD that you started seeing students being arrested for actually threatening the school. And Scott Israel is more of a social worker. He's not a great law enforcement person when it comes to that in itself. And that's the priority, is protecting the public. He can give out 600 million pounds of food and bicycles and say, oh, please like me, like me, like me. But when it comes to life and death, he is by far the worst. And now you have Sheriff Tony. Sheriff Tony, the current sheriff, tried to state that we have the top active shooter training or one of them in the country, and that's not true. There is no FBI study or DOJ study of the Broward Sheriff's Office or any office showing their rankings according to their ability. Sheriff Tony, the only thing that he did was teach deputies about the bleed kits, and then added that to the active shooter training, which they already were trained in tourniquets and so forth. And he made sure that they were trained once a year. So, no, he doesn't have the best active shooter training or top rated in the country. He's the type of guy that works as a sandwich maker in Subway, and he'll say that I am an expert in the culinary arts. So that's what the people deal with. They deal with wordplay when it comes to Sheriff Tony. But my main thing that I would change, like they haven't done now all this time, especially these months that the schools have been closed down, not once has the sheriff's department gone through any of the schools with each individual district and practiced moving through the schools, knowing the various locations in case something happens. That's why, as sheriff, currently everybody, when they have training, they pull in from various districts to downtown, and the people in the districts never work as a team. But I will decentralize training. That means Pompano will have its own training personnel. Oakland Park will have its own training personnel and so forth, guided by the main office on what is to be taught. This way, the districts know how to work as a team in case an incident happens. And they can have a quicker and overall response to each situation. And things like active shooter can be done more often. Right now, deputies spend 3 days a year in training, and that's it. They're done. But when you decentralize it, you assign it to the districts individually, it'll be more often and more complete.
Yeah, that makes sense. Well, we want to thank FBTV's Chuck. If you have anything to say, and then I'm going to ask Mr. Santiago that same question. FBTV has put this together for us, for our community, and we want to thank him. And Santiago, Mr. Vazquez, the same question, but with the school, do you think that our promise program is really working, or what would you do? And if you'd explain what is the promise program and why, if it's good or bad.
Well, thank you very much. The promise program is a civil citation that they've given to marginalized youth that commits a crime. And they failed to bring it to the police station, and they want to handle it within the the Board of Education by themselves. I do not want to see any marginalized youth going to jail or facilitating a school to prison pipeline. But I cannot support a program where I have more questions than answers. I understand that the Promise program has to combat the school prison pipeline. However, I question its implementation from the start, the follow through at each school site, and the recidivism rate thereafter. These are my questions for the Broward County School Board. Are the children learning from this process and or program, or are children continuing to commit crimes because they receive no actual consequences or legal ramification? When a school board system can produce annual and specific data regarding the numbers of students that they have served and success rates, etc., then maybe we can sit down and talk about how this will help our disenfranchised children. But in interim, we must provide a safe and secure environment for all of our citizens.
Absolutely.
That's including our teachers, our students, and employees. Let's talk about building programs.
So basically, bottom line, guys, we need to do more training with our deputies, have better mental training, better understanding of our school system. Like Mr. Chuck Whatley says, we should have taken the opportunities while the schools are down. The sheriff department has failed to do that. If you would agree, thank you for coming back, Mr. Father George. And these are the times that we need to protect our valuable asset, which is our children. We work hard every day here in America, here in Broward County, to provide for our family and our children. And if the elected officials that we elect as the sheriff department fail to protect our children, then they have failed the community. Would you guys not agree?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, they failed.
So
The
we have to
problem
get
is,
going, and I appreciate that you guys came along. Father George, if you would do the closing statement for all of us here as a community leader, and I want to thank to every viewers that is watching FBTV. Thank you, সবাই thank you যে আপনারা আসছেন। আমাদের এই প্রোগ্রামটা মাত্র শুরু হয়েছে with the politics and how আমাদের বাংলাদেশি community should be involved, কেন আমাদের এত জরুরি important যে আমাদের এই দেশের পলিটিক্সটা যেন আমরা বুঝতে পারি, যেন আমরা ভোট দিতে পারি। আমাদের ফিউচার প্রোগ্রাম ইনশাল্লাহ from FBTV আসবে, আমাদের কংগ্রেস ওমেন আসবে এখানে, আমাদের স্টেট সেনেট representative আসবে, county commissioner. So আপনারা যদি জানতে চান, please tune into FBTV, and inshallah এই সামনের সপ্তাহের ভিতরে FBTV will provide a recommended choices that আমরা believe that আমরা already কথা বলছি, দেখতে ওরা কিভাবে আমাদের বাংলাদেশি কমিউনিটিকে হেল্প করবে, কিভাবে আমাদের ইসলাম কমিউনিটিতে হেল্প করবে। আর ওই ক্যান্ডিডেটসরা ইনশাল্লাহ আমরা বলবো যে আমাদের সাজেশন যে এদিকে ভোট দেওয়া উচিত। আপনারা please stay tuned to FBTV, but I'm going to let Father George, since he had a little technical difficulties, and he's a great man, he's a great community leader. Father George, if you would close out our evening and thank FBTV for having this opportunity, because you guys are the first for us to educate our community on what local politics is about and why it's so important to vote locally before we even think about the president.
thank you, Imon, and I want to thank the television. I want to thank you, Imon, and I want to thank the television station. I want to thank the two candidates for participating, because these two candidates show they care about the minority communities. They show they care about the community as a whole and bringing everyone together under the right context. It is important, and like I said earlier, as also a child of immigrants, and I understand we come together as immigrant and immigrant communities to work hard to pursue the American dream, and the Bangladeshi community exemplifies that. The Bangladeshi community should be very proud of their hard work and what they contribute, bringing a beautiful culture to the county, to the United States as a whole, bringing a wonderful work ethic, and bringing a community of faith, because the Bangladeshi community as a whole believes in God and in the right morals and values that make our community great. And so, as a fellow son of an immigrant, and as the Greek individual who can relate very much to the Bangladeshi community. The Greeks and the Bangladeshis have very much a lot in common. We believe that you as the Bangladeshi community has to come together, looking and seeking justice, and in that to put the right candidates in office, because it's very important. It's not just about taxpayer dollars. It's about what is just and what God calls us to action, to fight for what is just, for what is proper, to act out our faith. And the Bangladeshi community should come together as one voice saying enough is enough with the injustices. Enough is enough with the corruption. Enough is enough with the misuse of power, the misuse of our funds, and putting, like we said earlier, our children in jeopardy. We need to come together. The Bangladeshi community has to speak up and support the right candidate for sheriff. Vote together in unison. Come out and volunteer for the right candidate. Come out and support financially the right candidate. And put them in office and show that the Bangladeshi community has a voice. And their voice is strong and powerful. And when the Bangladeshi community speaks up, the ground shakes. And that's what you need to do.
Absolutely.
You need to show
We
that
need
you're
to
a
rise.
contributing citizen.
We need to
Your
rise.
vote matters,
We need to
your
show.
money matters, everything you do matters.
We pay taxes here. We're law-abiding citizens. Our community, Bangladeshi community,
Yes.
আপনারা যদি না ভোট দেন তাহলে আমাদের নিজের কোনো গলা থাকবে না। আমাদের নেক্সট জেনারেশনের জন্য কি গলা রাখা দেব? কেন এটা হলো গিয়ে আমাদের দেশ এখন। আমরা এই দেশে আছি, আমাদের বাচ্চারা এখানে বড় হচ্ছে, আমাদের বাচ্চারা এখানে ইনশাল্লাহ বিয়া করবে। আমাদের বাচ্চারা যেন জানে যে বাংলাদেশি কমিউনিটি একটা প্ল্যাটফর্ম আছে। And by voting, ইনশাল্লাহ one day আমাদের নিজের একজন বাঙালি এই দেশে, এই দুনিয়াতে, এই ল্যান্ডে, এই ইউএসএ তে ইনশাল্লাহ একটা প্রেসিডেন্ট হতে পারে, অথবা সেনেটর হতে পারে, অথবা গভর্নমেন্ট হতে পারে। বাট এই জিনিসটা যদি আমরা চাই, আমরা বাংলাদেশি কমিউনিটির জন্য, যেভাবে অলরেডি ইন্ডিয়ানরা করছে, যেভাবে অলরেডি পাকিস্তানরা করছে, ওরা কেন করতে পারছে? কেন আমরা কমিউনিটি হিসাবে ভোট দিই। আমাদের ভেরি ইম্পর্টেন্ট, আগস্ট 18 তারিখে ফ্লোরিডা স্টেট প্রাইমারি ভোট দিতে। আপনারা এখন মাত্র দেখছেন হু দ্য শেরিফ ক্যান্ডিডেট যে আমরা প্রেফার করি। কেন ওরা আমরা প্রেফার করছি? ওরা বুঝাইছে আপনাদেরকে কিভাবে আমাদের কমিউনিটির সাথে থাকবে, আমাদের ধর্মের ভিতরে থাকবে, আমাদেরকে প্রোটেক্ট করবে। যখন তারা আলটিমেটলি ব্রাওয়ার্ড কাউন্টির জন্য সুপ্রিম লিডার হবে ফর দ্য পুলিশ ডিপার্টমেন্ট, দ্য শেরিফ ডিপার্টমেন্ট, এটা ভেরি ইম্পর্টেন্ট এই রেসটা। তো আপনারা ইনশাল্লাহ go vote for Santiago Vazquez or go vote for Chuck Whatley in the election. It's very important we vote. I want to thank all the candidates, and I want to thank Father George for coming here, and most importantly, thank you for the organization of FBTV. Yes, for FBTV.
Yeah, you might want to point out that I'm not in the primary.
I'm August 18th.
Right.
Yeah, on
Santiago
November 3rd.
Vazquez is on August 18th, and Chuck Whatley is on the general election. So please vote for either one that you feel that you should vote for. But these are the two candidates that we feel are with the Bangladeshi community, with the Islam community, with all of us, that's going to help us grow to be a better Broward. And I want to thank for both of you guys to come here so late at night to express who you are. And Father George, thank you for coming. But most importantly, if we could all give a thanks to FBTV for doing this, being the first TV station in our community to educate our community on why voting is so important. And we will have more interviews coming up, guys. So subscribe to FBTV. You will see us interviewing our Congress candidates, our state Senate, and our commissioners. So stay tuned to FBTV. So thank you, guys. And if you want to say anything to the community,
Thank you very much.
I appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
FBTV.
Yeah, I just want to thank everybody very much for tuning in, and I think Father George put it very good in his words, because when it comes down to it, regardless of what religion a person is, whether they're Muslim, Catholic, or Jewish, or Baptist, we're all under one God, and we want to be a good testimony before God for His honor and glory. So I thank each and every one of you, and God bless all of you for watching.
And thank you, FBTV. I greatly appreciate this opportunity. Thank you so much to my family, Bangladesh. And Data Soft, thank you. I'm here again, and we're doing it strong. So thanks again, everyone in Bangladesh, here in Broward County. Your vote, I need your vote on August 18th. Santiago Vazquez for Broward County Sheriff. Thank you once again.
Yeah, thank you to FBTV and to the Bangladeshi community. You really bring a lot to the community and make America great with your contributions. And I am proud to be a part of your program tonight. And I want to thank again the network is doing a wonderful job. I want to thank Imon for hosting this and his great questions. And let's speak up together as a community looking for justice. God bless you all, and my prayers are with the Bangladeshi community. Come together and support the right candidates. And again, like I said, show that you have a voice and show that your voice matters.
Brother George, I would like to welcome you on our next episode when we interview other different candidates for different positions. If you're willing to, as a community leader, I appreciate your time. Thank you, FBTV. Thank you, ধন্যবাদ সবার জন্য। ইনশাল্লাহ আবার দেখা হবে। আপনারা FBTVর সাথে সাবস্ক্রাইব করে থাকেন। আমাদের আরো এডুকেশন আসবে for the local politicians and why it's so important. 2020 is a big opportunity to change the Bangladeshi community for the better. It's important যে আমরা সবাই যেন যায় ভোট করি। Thank you so much and have a good night.